We've got an equation with fractions, so our first thought should be multiply both sides by the denominator or denominators. What I mean by that is we need to take these two denominators that are here, so in this case a 4 and an 8. We're going to find the least common multiple, so let's list the multiples of 4. 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, and so on. The multiples of 8, 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, and so on. I already have a match. So for 4 and 8, 8 is going to be our least common multiple. Okay, so we're going to come over here and we're going to multiply both sides by the number 8. On this side here, on the left side, I'm going to need to use the distributive property. 8 multiplied by 5 is 40. Okay, now don't make this next part harder than it is. When you multiply by a fraction, what you're really doing is multiplying by the numerator and dividing by the denominator. So when I take 8 times this fraction, I'm going to say 8 divided by 4, which is 2, and then multiply by the numerator. 2 times 3 is 6. It's a positive number times a negative number, so this is negative 6x. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time. 8 multiplied by negative 3/4 x. I'm taking the 8, I'm dividing it by the number in the bottom and multiplying it by the number in the top. So 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 2 times 3 is 6. Positive times negative is negative, and then these are x's. Okay, on this side here, same thing. When I multiply by a fraction, you're really dividing by the bottom and multiplying by the top. So 8 divided by 8 is 1, and 1 multiplied by 3 is 3. So this equals 3. In the first topic, the only thing that you have to do is get rid of the fractions. So this would be my answer in that first topic. But then after that, it wants you to finish solving. So if I continue to solve, I'm going to get letters on one side, numbers on the other. So I have a number, letters, and a number. So the quickest way to do that would be to move the 40 to the other side. To get rid of a positive 40, I'm going to subtract 40. What I do to one side of the equal sign, I do to the other. Okay, let's bring down what we have. We have this negative 6x still here. And then 3 minus 40 is negative 37. And then lastly, we want to get rid of the multiply by negative 6. So I'm going to divide by negative 6. The x is now by itself. And negative over a negative is a positive, so my fraction is positive. Nothing fits into 37 and 6. So this fraction is also simplified. So my answer is 37 over 6. To solve this equation, we're going to take the denominators and first find the least common multiple. Okay, so off to the side, I'm going to take the numbers 3 and 6 and list out their multiples. Remember, to get multiples, you multiply by 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12, and so on. Okay, then for 6, 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18, and so on. We have more than one match up here already, the 6s and the 12s. Ideally, you want to use the least common one, so I'm going to stick with 6. And by multiplying both sides by the number 6, all the fractions are going to go away. So I'm going to put a set of parentheses and a 6. When I multiply the left side by 6, I'm going to need to use the distributive property. Okay, we'll start off with the easier multiplication there. 6 multiplied by 4 is 24. Okay, once again, let's not make this multiplication seem complicated. When you multiply by a fraction, you are really dividing by the number in the bottom and multiplying by the number in the top. If I want to take 6 times 2/3 x, I'm taking 6 and dividing it by 3. Okay, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. And multiply by the number on the top. 2 times 2 is 4. Positive times positive, so it's positive 4x. Okay, so one more time on that one. 6 times 2/3 x, you're really taking the 6 and dividing it by 3 and multiplying it by 2. So 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4x. Okay, over here, same thing. Multiplying by a fraction is dividing by the bottom and multiplying by the top. So 6 divided by 6 is 1, and then 1 multiplied by 5 is 5. So equals 5. We've cleared the fractions. So in the first topic, the questions ask clear the fractions, and that's all it wants. So you would put this equation here as your answer. But the next topic says to solve by clearing the fractions. So we want to continue on to finish getting x by itself. If we move letters to one side, numbers to the other, I have numbers, letters, numbers. I'm going to take this 24 and move it to the other side. It's a positive 24, so I'm going to subtract 24. What I do to one side of the equal sign, I do to the other. On the left side, once I've gotten rid of the 24, I still have 4x. Okay, let's bring down that equal sign. And then 5 minus 24 is negative 19. Our last step, we're looking to see what's happening to the x, and it's getting multiplied by 4. So let's get rid of the multiply by 4 by dividing by 4. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So this 4 gets rid of this 4, and x is by itself. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. There aren't any numbers that fit into both 19 and 4, so this fraction is simplified. And so I get 19 over 4. Just a little side note, when you have a negative fraction, the negative can go at the top, the bottom, or out to the side. But usually standard practice is to leave that negative out to the side. To solve the equation that has fractions, a great strategy is to multiply both sides by the common denominator, or the least common multiple of the denominators. So I'm immediately going to take the numbers 3 and 7 and come off to the side. So 3 and 7. Let's list out their multiples. To get multiples, you multiply by 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, I'm going to keep counting here. 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, and so on. Okay, for 7. 7 times 1 is 7, 7 times 2 is 14, 7 times 3 is 21, 7 times 4 is 28, and so on. So the number that we want to use, these both have 21. I'm going to multiply both sides by the number 21. And the reason this is such a powerful strategy is when you multiply both sides by 21, all the fractions go away. Now to multiply the left side by 21, I'm going to need to use the distributive property. Keep in mind, when you multiply by a fraction, you're really multiplying by the top and dividing by the bottom. I find it easier to divide by the bottom and then multiply by the top, but either way is fine. I could divide by 3, multiply by 2, or I could multiply by 2 and then divide by 3. Okay, so multiplying this together, 21 times this fraction, 21 divided by 3 is 7, and 7 multiplied by 2 is 14. And these are x's. Okay, then 21 multiplied by 2, positive times positive is positive, and 21 times 2 is 42. I bring down the equal sign. Okay, then again, when I multiply by a fraction, I'm dividing by the bottom and multiplying by the top. So 21 divided by 7 is 3, and 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. We've cleared the fractions. Notice how much easier this equation looks to solve. Then we're going to go ahead and finish solving the equation. We have letters, numbers, and numbers. We want letters on one side, numbers on the other. So I'm going to move this 42 to the other side. It's a positive 42, so I'm going to subtract. What I do to one side of the equal sign, I do to the other. Okay, so on the left side, we just got rid of 42, so there's still 14x. I bring down my equal sign, and then 9 minus 42 is going to be negative 30, what is that? 40 minus 9 is 31, that would be 33, okay? And then from there, we're going to get rid of multiply by 14 by dividing by 14. What I do to one side, I do to the other. And so finally here, I have x is equal to this fraction right here. Nothing fits into both 33 and 14 other than 1, so it's simplified. We have a negative divided by a positive, so it's a negative. So I have the answer negative 33 over 14.